Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Nicole, and I'm so glad to have a special guest. So, occasionally, I'm able to interview guests and get some real insights on issues and challenges that women are facing, but not just the challenge. What is it that they can do about it? And I'm so excited to have Aditi here. We've been trying to connect for a while, but we kept at it because we knew that this was such an important issue in terms of women's health and wellness. So you're in for a treat. But not only that, you're going to walk away with some real things that you can start doing. So welcome, Aditi. Why don't you tell our audience what it is that you do? Who are you? How do you help women?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Mm.
Um, so, before I get into the conventional
Yes.
introduction, have you ever experienced like you're doing everything right, you're eating right, you're working out, but the weight just won't come off?
Ooh,
Well,
yes.
that's a common problem with that's a common challenge that most of my audience and clients actually face. And most of these women have a condition known as PCOS, or Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome.
Hmm.
And that's exactly where I come in.
Okay.
So, like Dr. Nicole has already introduced, I'm Aditi Guha. I'm a PCOS nutritionist. So, I specialize nutrition work around women who have this condition. And I'm also a mom to a 17-month-old boy. And I'm
Mm.
currently 33 weeks and 5 days pregnant
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Yes.
with baby number two.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually, started out my journey as a corporate weight loss nutritionist
So you were working
with
like people.
companies. Yeah,
Okay.
so I have worked with Unilever, I have worked with Google. So I used to mainly like organize challenges for them that would
Mhm.
last for 15 to 1 month, 15 days to 1 month. And typically we would have their, a group getting in, like a specific department or maybe the leadership team, etc. And we would actually like do a lot of stuff that would help them lose weight. And a
Hmm.
lot of people were benefiting, except
Mhm.
that one group of people
Mhm.
who were just not getting the result.
Yes.
And those women, when we looked in and I digged in, I found that they all had this condition called PCOS. And I have to confess that my first instinct was like, I do not want them inside
Oh,
this.
really? Because it was too difficult, or
I
like
was like, they're ruining my statistics.
your quote unquote success rate, right?
My success rate, because then you're wondering, like, how are the corporates judging you and your performance, etc. But however, my husband challenged me, and he said that if you are such a good nutritionist, you're going to get
Mm.
results for them too.
Yes.
And it's when I started looking into that, I started doing a one-on-one work, and then I realized, oh my god, there is a world of difference in losing weight and losing weight with PCOS.
Mm. I
Yeah.
think that probably is such a consolation that can make so many women feel heard and seen who maybe have this condition
Yeah.
and have felt like a failure, or everyone saying like, what's wrong with you? You're not doing it right.
Yeah, and also like they're constantly told to eat less, work out more, and most of the time when we start working, I think the biggest challenge is to get them eating,
Mm.
because
So they're
it's
under
just,
eating.
yeah, majority. I have not met one woman who is eating more.
Yes.
I mean, they eat more in like compensation, because if you have been under eating for quite some time, you
Yes.
are going to have a binge eating episode. It's just normal body reaction.
Uh-huh.
But what I basically want to say is that they're constantly thinking they're eating too much,
Yeah.
because that's what everybody is telling them.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So one of the things, when you start, and I feel it's very sad, because a lot of women get diagnosed with PCOS when they're teenagers. So they're
Okay. Is
basically
that too
free.
late, too early? Like, what are your thoughts on
No,
that?
it's actually like, no, the timing is kind of perfect because that's
Mhm.
the reason they get diagnosed is because they have missed a period. And
Okay.
so they went to the doctor and they're not getting a period as regularly as other girls their age, or they are breaking out, they're having too much acne. So
Mhm.
these are usually the markers that let them go to a doctor, and the doctor invariably is like, and either puts them on a birth control pill or
Uh-huh.
diagnoses this and says that, you know what, eat less, work out more, and come back when you want to get pregnant.
Mhm. Mhm.
So they're very young to understand that this is not how it should be dealt with.
So they just accept what the doctors like, they don't know that there's any other way.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
So then where do you by the time you meet them, so they may have gotten this diagnosis at teen years, in their teen years or 20s or something, but they don't know what to do with it. And then like where do you typically find them? Is it like after years of frustration or where are they?
Yeah, so they are basically, they come to me at a point where they have had enough. They're
Mhm.
they're constantly tired, they're frustrated, they have tried everything in the book, and they are constantly still struggling with this.
Mhm.
Typically, a lot of them find me very close to their 30s.
Okay.
So they have basically finished school, they've got a job, they kind of settled in the job for some
Yes.
years. I think that what they figure, at least the people who end up working with me, these are like really successful women,
Yes.
and they
Yes.
are successful in everything they do except this. So
And I
it
know
just,
that's crushing probably for them.
yeah, in a way, it kind of nags them. Like, I
Uh-huh.
can figure everything out. I can figure admissions to Ivy League. I can figure jobs. I can
Uh-huh.
figure everything. Why can't I figure this? So I think that's where they find me. But typical age, I would say, would be late 20s, when
Okay.
they're basically also thinking about starting a family or getting
Uh-huh.
married and stuff like that.
And so does the PCOS interfere with their ability to conceive? Like it doesn't happen as easily or as they had anticipated?
Yes, so PCOS can interfere. So I always say this, that the number of women with PCOS conceiving is pretty much the same as women without PCOS. It's
Okay.
just an obstacle race. Like, you are running a normal race, they are probably
Uh-huh.
running an obstacle race.
Okay.
So but it's not hard. And just like weight loss, like the way you would approach weight loss for women with PCOS is slightly different from others.
Mhm.
And similarly, the fertility would be also different from any other woman trying to conceive.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
then let's get into that. What does a woman with PCOS have to do to lose weight or be healthier?
So one of the things that people, I always say this, and they need to understand, is that PCOS is a symptom, not a full story. It's a partial diagnosis.
Okay.
We need to identify the underlying hormones that are actually driving the PCOS.
Okay.
Often there are culprits like insulin resistance, inflammation, excess androgen, a
Mhm.
slow thyroid, adrenal fatigue, and all of them kind of impacts. The thing where it gets very interesting is that about 95% of women with PCOS have actually more than one driving force.
So it's not just you find that one thing, eliminate it, and then
Yeah,
life just
it's not like that. So
okay.
a lot of people, for example, think that, and a lot of doctors would put you on something like metformin, which is
Uh-huh.
mainly for insulin.
Okay.
But they still are frustrated. They are still not seeing the result they're seeing, and that's
Mhm.
because that's not the only driving force. There could be something else, and that's also driving, that is also affecting along with insulin resistance. It could be like a very high stress hormone, very high testosterone, and you need to kind of like balance both,
Okay.
and otherwise you're just going to be they get more and more frustrated.
Okay. Okay. Wow. So, all right. So just to recap, right? PCOS is just an expression in a way through,
Yeah.
through different symptoms and things, but there's one or usually more underlying issues
Yes.
that it points to. Okay. Okay.
Exactly. So when people start working with me, the first thing I do is some blood work.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I actually track like 63 different symptoms.
So they like
63.
report it themselves, like they
Yes.
suffer. Wow.
Yes.
Yes.
And I also say that the most successful clients are the ones who are the most self-aware.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
you're ignoring nothing. You are
Mm-hmm.
not ignoring that you snapped at your husband. Not,
Yes.
you're not ignoring that you're feeling tired or you feel like you don't feel hungry in the
Uh-huh.
morning, or
Yes.
those are all symptoms actually. And so we first look at that. Then the next step is actually repair,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of them could have deficiencies because of these hormonal imbalance,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe they have a very poor gut. And it's very important that we do the repair work first,
Okay.
because you are not what you eat, you are what you digest.
Say, I think that's really profound. Maybe say that again because I know people know that you are what you eat.
You are not what you eat, you
Uh-huh.
are what you digest. So you could have all the medicines and all the supplements and all the organic food in the world, but
Mm.
if you're not digesting it, it's an expensive pea, a
Okay.
very expensive pea.
Yes, yes, yes. So
And
you help with the diet. That's where the gut comes in when
that's
you're
where gut comes in. Sometimes it could be
uh-huh.
even just deficiency. Like, for
Mhm.
example, a lot of women are put on birth control or metformin, and we
Mhm.
know there is enough clinical data that suggests that it is accompanied with deficiency of B12.
Okay.
B12 is a any B vitamin is a nervous system, it also regulates your nervous system. So, your memory, your mood, and stuff like that. So, unless we are regulating and looking into these deficiencies, it's really hard for someone to get the kind of result that they're looking at. And
Mm.
based on the root cause and the repair is the first meal plan sort of is made. The nutrition comes to play. And what I see where a lot of women go wrong is that they think that's the first step. They think that nutrition is the first step. Like, I'm going to stop eating this. I'm going to go
Uh-huh.
gluten free. I'm going to go dairy free. I'm going to go all free.
Yes.
Or, I'm going to eat less than 1,200 calories. But that is step three,
So that's later on. Step 1. So step 1 is
identifying the root cause.
okay.
And number two is identifying the areas of repair.
Okay, what you need to repair, not just blind blanket like
Yeah.
solution for everyone. Okay.
Yes. And then comes number three, which is your replenish, which I call is replenish, where we are going to look at nutrition that's going to
Mhm.
heal the hormones. And that's why I track those symptoms, because I cannot send people for blood work every 2 weeks. But
Okay.
every 2 weeks, I tweak their meal plan basis how their symptom recall is.
Okay. Okay.
And then I'm like, okay, this it seems like we are doing really well on maybe stress, but it still seems like the insulin resistance is still very high. You're still
Mhm.
craving for bread, sugar. You're still having maybe post lunch slump. So
Mhm.
let's work on that. Maybe we will focus on that for 2 weeks and see how the diet is helping with that.
Okay, okay. So what are some of these 64 symptoms? Just a few, or what are the different categories that you're asking that like point to PCOS?
So, for example, like say inflammation, it could be
Mhm.
something like having a lot of joint pain, waking up with a lot of body and joint pain, feeling
Mhm.
very lethargic. It could be, for example, sugar craving, like craving really for carbs like bread and potatoes and
Mm.
sugar, post meal slumps, brain fog. Then it could be like not feeling hungry in the morning, low libido. That's something that
Uh-huh.
people don't even
Uh-huh.
realize, that low libido is actually a hormonal imbalance.
Uh-huh.
Then it could be, having hair in unwanted places like the chin or the chest, and
Mhm.
losing hair where you want them.
Okay, so getting it where you don't want and then where you do
Yeah,
want it, you're losing it.
yeah.
Okay.
Then it could be like constantly feeling bloated after every meal,
Mm-hmm.
like this uneasiness, heaviness, not actually pooping regularly.
Mm, yeah.
um, and the other one will be like feeling cold when nobody else feels cold.
Okay.
Your nails are very brittle, they easily break. So these are some of the symptoms that would be categorized there, that I
Okay.
would be tracking.
Wow, that is so I see what you mean about self-awareness because
Yeah,
you can't and it's interesting because like women that I work with who are in a space of burnout or just trying to find more balance for themselves, this whole thing of not eating is common and they're just like so we're like, okay, you're not eating, and they're like, well, I'm just not hungry. So
yeah,
it's interesting that you mentioned that because maybe some women at first might be glad because they're like, okay, that means I'm going to eat less, I'm not hungry in the morning, so
yeah,
I'm not going to eat. But you're saying that is a problem.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
So
absolutely.
nobody should not listen up, ladies, right? Like, don't wear that as a badge of honor. Like, oh, I'm not hungry because it's one of those symptoms that you're tracking.
Yeah, yeah. Like waking up very feeling not hungry at all is not a good sign at all.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and you nice that you mentioned about the burnout. It is actually a sign of burnout
Mhm.
that you are.
Mhm.
So they will have late night snacks, like they will snack at 10, 11 in the night. They also feel very. They may wake up feeling like haven't slept, and then when in the night they feel very wired, like so awake.
Mhm.
And then they're
Yeah.
spending time scrolling, um, or watching Netflix.
Yeah, yeah.
These are very
Okay.
classic signs of burnout also, but these are also
Mhm.
signs of hormonal imbalance.
So they go so that's good for people to hear. They go hand in hand. It's because I think a lot of times when we think of burnout, we think of it's like psychological or there's just, too much work,
Yeah,
but they go all together, the hormonal part. And I'm imagining they play off like the more burnt out you are mentally, then you're not like getting those nutrients or you're doing things that contribute to the hormones, which also contribute to the burnout.
absolutely.
Mhm,
Absolutely.
mhm, yeah. Okay, so they get with you that they do an assessment, they're tracking, they're self-aware.
Yeah.
Um, and well, let me ask you this. Is it challenging for women to track all of that? Is it hard to get people to be that observant of themselves?
Um, I think that when they're presented with these questions, they sometimes are like, oh, I did not even know. They were aware of it. At least the
Mhm.
women I work with are very, very aware. And that's one of the reasons I always say that do not work with me, because you see, testimonials of weight loss, because
Okay.
that's a side effect.
Yes.
Weight loss is a side effect. Fertility is also a side effect. The you
You're gonna
want
be getting pregnant, ladies, so make sure you
these are all side effects. The whole
Yes.
idea is the body like a machine actually working? Is it
Mhm.
well-oiled machine? And we want to be aware of it. And there are people who are very they have had enough. I understand. They
Yeah.
probably are like, I just want to lose weight. I just want to lose weight. Just somehow, just like make me lose weight. It won't happen. It just won't happen like that. You have
Yeah.
to agree that these are symptoms that I have to see success. I have to see them reverse before I
Mhm.
see weight loss. So,
Okay.
in most of the cases I have worked with, the gut health, and a lot of this craving, actually, I think in the first 2 weeks, my goal is that women have a dramatic reduction in cravings,
Okay.
because with PCOS, it's one of the most pronounced symptoms that actually robs them of their own self confidence.
The
Like they,
craving, the sugar,
yes,
the carb and
it's
sugar thing.
generally craving. What they're not realizing is the craving is a side effect of blood sugar imbalance. It's a side
Mhm.
effect of even burn, even like having high cortisol. It is also a side effect of under eating. If
Mhm.
you are not
Yeah.
eating, because like my son is 17 months old and I think he has more than 1200 calories. So if somebody is having less than a 17-month
This
old,
has been a baby, right? As yeah. Oh my
I'm not
god.
surprised that you are
Yes.
having cravings, but
Mhm.
they are not understanding that this is a symptom. This is one of the symptoms. So when they are like, "Oh my God, I actually am not craving. I'm actually full and I'm not snacking, and I just don't feel like my mental space is so consumed by fighting, with fighting
Yes, yes,
willpower, fighting of these thoughts of food. I think for me, it's one of the things I like to achieve very early on, because it gives them a lot of confidence that, oh, it was never about me, it was never my fault, it was never
yes,
about my lack of willpower. I was not, I did not know, or I did not have the
yes.
tools. So that's one of the things I've seen always precedes better gut health, always precedes before you kind of see like a lot of weight loss and periods getting regular and your libido coming back.
Okay. Three things. Okay. Well, and women may not understand. I can definitely know women want, they love the weight loss, the libido. Maybe they don't understand how important having a regular period is, because I think we've been told, oh, I'm glad when my period doesn't come, but it is so important, right? That's one of the ways that you monitor hormonal balance and health.
Absolutely.
Hmm, hmm.
I always tell this because I get a lot of clients. Not well, I do get a lot of women who are like, I don't want to ever have a baby, and that's
Mm,
fine. Nobody, no, everybody doesn't need to have babies.
yeah.
But I always say that being baby ready is super important. So
Hmm.
I say that from outside, we all should be date ready, and from inside, we should always be baby ready.
Oh, yes. Say that. I love that phrase. Yes.
I am very happily married, and I am now like, I think I'm done with having babies. But
Uh-huh.
even then, after that, when I say you want to be date ready from outside, it means like the skin is glowing. You don't have to
Mhm.
be super conscious. Your hair looks good. You can
Yes.
wear clothes with confidence. And when I say you're baby ready, it means like you're ovulating. You're getting
Yes.
that ovulation. You get this nice cervical mucus show up, for 2 3 days every month,
Mhm.
and you're getting your period because it shows that your body is safe, your body
You're
is
in
feeling
the
safe.
you're not in a fighter, because I heard it's like feed or breed. Your feet, you should be in feed and breed, not fight or flight or stress mode.
Absolutely,
Uh-huh.
absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Because if you are not getting period, you basically are putting yourself through situations where your body does not feel safe to ovulate.
Mm, mhm.
Yeah.
Wow, that is eye-opening, I can imagine. So, weight loss, skin. So these, I'm just repeating some of what you're saying. Weight loss, skin, libido, regular period. Let me ask you this. Are there women, is weight gain or excess weight always a sign of, like, does that always come with PCOS? Or can you have PCOS and kind of be underweight or not have
Yeah,
excess weight?
you could. 30% of women with PCOS have a condition known as lean PCOS.
Mm, mhm.
So they basically have very high testosterone. In fact, some of the world renowned female athletes have PCOS. So they basically are very fit.
Yeah.
They're very strong. They don't actually gain weight, but they will be still having they will either have, along with high testosterone, either will have very high AMH, or will have irregular period or irregular ovulation.
Okay.
So that
And
will
do
be
you know
consistent.
who are some of the, because is it, I know the South African runner, I f- some I forgot her full name, but I know there was a lot of controversy about her hormone levels. I don't know if that's PCOS or something else. You know who I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
I
Yeah.
actually, even in the US, I think,
Mm.
because every time before the Olympics, we sometimes hear like, okay, these athletes were, taken to the court because their testosterone is really high, it is not
Yeah.
fair, etc., etc. However, it's like they just have elevated testosterone,
Okay.
and that's part of. Some of them would have PCOS, some may
Mhm.
not, because in order to be diagnosed with PCOS, you have to meet 2 out of 3 criteria. One
Okay.
is either you've got very high testosterone. Number
Mhm.
two being you are not ovulating or getting irregular period. And number three is it shows up on an ultrasound or your AMH level is very high. You don't have to do both. Either of
Okay.
them is just fine. So if somebody fits in these two out of three criteria, they are usually the diagnosis is that you have PCOS.
Okay. Okay. So you said an ultrasound. Are there actually little cysts on the ovary? Like, because
Yeah,
I'm
so
looking
they
at
look like cysts. They're more like
Mhm.
a pearl string.
Okay.
They just look like cysts, but they are not cysts.
Okay.
They are basically, your fallopian tube has formed into a like a bead of pearls that looks like a cyst. But like a lot of people may have ovarian actual cyst, and they may not have PCOS.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's just that on an ultrasound it looks like that.
Okay. So you have to meet these
Yeah.
criteria. You mentioned testosterone. Are there other hormones that you're trying to help women balance out their hormones?
Right.
What other hormones are coming into play that they need to balance?
So, like I was saying, the hormones that would generally show up would be insulin,
Mhm.
insulin resistance, thyroid, um, and there is cholesterol, which is not a hormone, but it is
Mhm.
exactly how your body is processing the fat, and it is a good marker of inflammation also sometimes. So we do a lot of inflammation tests like CRP, understanding. If you So another very typical thing that we see in blood work for women with PCOS is that they have high LDL, like bad cholesterol,
Okay.
and low good cholesterol.
Which is is
Uh,
that the HDL?
the HDL,
Okay,
exactly.
so they're
That's it.
lower
The
on
LDL is really high and the
Mhm.
HDL is really low. So that is there. Testosterone, of course, is tested. Progesterone, estrogen are also tested.
Mhm.
If it is accompanied by irregular period, or you're not able to conceive, or you're getting also painful period along with whenever you do get period.
Mhm.
So sometimes some women with PCOS would have estrogen dominance as one of the things. Um,
Okay.
then LH, FSH levels to understand if these are all for tests if you are not getting your regular period or you're trying to conceive. However, like even though I love looking at lab work, I don't also want people to overcomplicate everything
Okay.
as possible.
Yes.
So we know that sometimes some hormones are always the root cause of other hormonal imbalance. So I would rather look at insulin and look at balancing that, because I
Mhm.
insulin is a growth hormone, and
Okay.
it's like the circus ringmaster. You want the ringmaster to first behave itself. If you
Before
want
you start trying to get all the other
So I'm not
players.
going to go crazy. So I would rather start with the gut, because I want to make sure that you're digesting really well, your
Mhm.
inflammation. I would look at your insulin. And then when these three things are still not, even after optimizing it, we're like, okay, this is optimized. Like, what are we missing here? Then we get curious and look at other blood work, because getting your doctor to even ask in order for these blood work is
Yes.
easy. So it's like as long as we are able to understand what is going on, we will see that some of these key hormones can actually tell us a lot more, instead of going crazy, like the thyroid
With
panel.
getting all of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
instead of getting like going crazy with all the blood work,
Mhm.
it's not even. I mean, you can do it, but it is not the most necessary.
So, would a person go for the blood work? Is this something a gynecologist would do? Do they go to their primary? If they get a referral from you, like, how do they even start to get someone to look at these things?
So it depends. Most of
Mhm.
them actually try whoever they have, whoever is more
Okay.
accessible.
Yes.
If they like their primary, they usually go there. And sometimes the primary will not order for the sex hormone test. So if LHS, LSH and LFSH are important part of it, or we want to understand the sex hormone globulin, all of those tests, they would want you to go to your OBGYN. And for
Okay.
some reason, a lot of women do not want to go to the
Okay.
OBGYN. So we start off with the basics. And I always say that sometimes some tests have already been done, because they were also trying to investigate for really long for themselves, like
Mhm.
what has been
Why
going
they're
on.
having
If
this. Uh-huh.
a test is like done 3 months earlier, I would still look into it, because mostly all tests 3 months back are quite valid.
Mhm.
It's only when we are like, we have reached like a like, we've hit a wall and nothing seems to be making sense, we would ask for a particular test. And in some cases, in very rare cases, especially with fertility clients, sometimes I do look at something called the Dutch hormone test.
Mm.
It's a very specialized kind of test, which I order for them. And this Dutch hormone test gives you how, not only how the hormones are behaving, but also how the hormones are being absorbed by the body. But again, like I'm saying, that I think in 99% of the cases, you don't have to.
It's kind of that tracking, that
The
monitoring, and
symptom
looking at
tracking is
key.
so much more powerful.
Okay.
Of course, the symptom tracking will not tell me something like whether you are vitamin D deficient or
Mhm.
B12 deficient. I mean, that is something I would insist that your primary gets you. With the symptom tracking, if it's some symptoms are persisting, I might ask for the whole thyroid panel. Some of these basic tests I feel are far more telling, and symptom tracking is super powerful.
Okay.
You If this isn't, it's like you don't necessarily need to overcomplicate this by
Okay.
ordering too many tests.
So I have a question. Do you think that we have more PCOS? Like, is there something in the lifestyle and how we're living, or is there more awareness about it? Are more women getting it, or are we just understanding that this could be, we're observing it, we're diagnosing it more?
I Well, the existence of PCOS goes as far as hunter gatherers time. So
Okay.
that is the first mention or first incidence happens, and that is because you can understand, if food is scarce and you're
Your
not
body's
safe,
going to,
you're not going to get period. It
yeah.
has been the way the body works, because the body's job is to optimize for your survival, not for the survival of the human race. Body does not care about
Yeah.
whether
In this
humans
moment,
are.
it's about how safe and how secure are you.
Yeah,
And
so it's supposed to keep me alive. It doesn't really care whether human species are getting extinct. And when I am safe, it will evoke feelings of like, oh, motherliness or whatever, and I will be like,
mhm.
okay, maybe I should have a kid. Uh,
Okay. Yeah.
but the we know that the first instance, it's not a modern lifestyle phenomena at all. As far as maybe the diagnosis, we are getting more to it because it's getting nuanced. Like before, there used to be just ultrasound, then they
Mhm.
added other variables to it. This one of adding the AMH is very,
Mhm.
very recent. It is as recent as last year.
Okay.
They were, so the before, it was something called the Rotterdam criteria, which was put in place, I think, in around 2002. So the criteria was in 2002. So which is why I still see people from outside the US do not even get a testosterone screening. So if they
Mhm.
have an ovarian cyst, that's it. That's it for many people. So you kind of,
That's the only
and
criterion. Uh-huh.
yeah, so the criteria, so the diagnosis is definitely not there for a lot of people. And now they're adding criterias that seem to be making more sense, like
Mhm.
AMH level. We know that women with PCOS have elevated. In fact, it remains elevated even after they have menopause, so makes it a pretty good indicator of something that was not there before. And now they're still doing a lot of clinical studies to see if any other parameter can be a better indicator. So it's kind of evolving the diagnosis. It has been there for ages.
Uh-huh. It's
But
just that now kind of
now we
understand
are,
how
yeah,
to, okay. All right, that's so good to know. So how do you, and I think one key thing for women to hear is like, it's not your fault. Whether
yeah,
you've done all the quote right things and this is a challenge for you. That's why we have people like Aditi. We have people that where you can get the help that you need. So what are some things like for someone who's watching and listening right now? Like, what are some tips that you have for them if they suspect that they have PCOS or they have some of these, they're experiencing some of these symptoms that you described?
Yeah. So first of all, is get tested.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely understand some of my favorite blood work that I recommend is getting your testosterone level checked, getting your AMH level checked, and HbA1c, which is a better indicator for insulin resistance.
Okay.
Asking for the whole thyroid panel. Number two is somewhere you have to kind of draw a line that I know my body better than any medical professional,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to advocate for yourself. So if you are not feeling good and everybody is like, oh, the blood work looks good, but you are not feeling good, you are still right.
Okay.
You are
Yes.
not like crazy or overthinking this. I want you, because we all deserve to feel our best. So
Yes.
don't underestimate what you're feeling, because that is the kind of symptoms I track. No lab work is going to tell you that your
Uh-huh.
libido is low.
So
Or
when you give them the questionnaire, they need to be, they don't need to say like, they don't need to downplay it. They actually need to be
yes.
really, really accurate,
Yeah. So
honest.
if you are with the healthcare or anybody, any provider that is not paying attention or listening to you or gaslighting you, um, change the doctor.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
you want. Number three is focus on adding than deleting.
Mm.
A big thing that we will see in the world of TikTok and Instagram, where there are a lot of fitness influencers who are actually telling you to stop doing something, like stop eating gluten, stop eating dairy, stop eating whatever.
Yes.
I think that's not a healthy attitude. It doesn't really help in the long term. What we want to do is instead add things to the plate than delete them. They may give us temporary relief. Like, of
Mm-hmm.
course, you delete anything, you might see the scale move a bit.
Yes.
You know that's not sustainable. Like, are you never going to have a birthday cake ever? Like,
Yeah.
no, no.
Exactly.
Are you never ever going to have a proper pizza? I mean,
Mm.
pizza does not taste the same. Sorry. So
Exactly. Yeah. What is it? Vegan gluten-free pizza
yeah, so
or
anything that's free is coming at a cost.
okay. Okay.
Anything that says free on the pack comes at a cost. And you're paying that with both mental health and physical health. So I think that's very important to know these three things to keep in
Mhm.
mind. And the last one would be eat breakfast.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, yes. In the world of intermittent fasting. And again,
Oh my God.
we're fasting overnight anyway, right? But like I think just when I teach about burnout and that whole cycle of depriving yourself is always going to lead to some sort of binge or over quote overindulgence.
Absolutely.
But the breakfast thing, I'm just like, remember when our moms used to tell us what or whoever said breakfast is the most
Look,
it,
yeah.
it
Eat like
tells
a
the
king
system,
for
right?
breakfast.
Yeah.
In fact, like it's so funny, like so many people have told me this. Nutrition is a job where, everybody thinks they know more than the nutritionist. Everybody has
TikTok
an
told you.
opinion. um, but one of the funniest, many times I've heard this comment that, oh my God, monks have such a long life and monks fast, therefore intermittent fasting is good. And I've heard people advocate even like for like 24-hour fasting, like the hours keep increasing. And I am
Yeah.
like, do you want a monk sex life?
Oh my goodness.
Really?
That's such a great, oh my goodness.
Like, do
So tell us
you?
about that. The libido, right? Like how is that
Yeah,
going to
I mean, has anybody ever thought that maybe this guy doesn't eat because that's the only way to suppress urges?
Mm,
So I'm like, if you don't, you nobody that you're following, whether it's a grandmother, a monk, or whatever, they are not a buffet. You can't select a part of their life and say that, oh, that works for the monk, he has a long life, so I'm going to follow this.
but you're
No,
not looking at the rest of it, the
whole
whole
thing.
picture. Uh-huh.
And another reason that's why a lot of women are very disappointed that they do things that work very well for their husband and do
Mm.
not work for them.
we're not just cookie cutters of men. Like you're listing, we have different reproductive systems, hormones, bodies, fats, proportions, and things like that. Okay, so now you made me wonder. So since hormones are such a part of this, does PCOS become a non-issue after menopause?
No,
Or okay.
like I was saying that it's going to be an issue even
Hmm.
then. That's one of the reasons we say that, like, sometimes some people think that they have. I've actually had people come and tell me that I used to have PCOS. I don't know if I have PCOS, or I have partial PCOS, and they are quoting their medical professionals. I don't know
Okay.
why they have, and why why anybody would say that, but PCOS is for life.
Okay. Okay.
PCOS is for life. So no, the menopause does not make difference. So a lot of people have even asked me, if I get my ovaries removed, would I feel better? What I would say to that is that it's not a reproductive problem. It is also an endocrinological problem,
Mhm.
and it's a metabolic problem, which basically means your endocrine system is also very, very much part of it, which
Okay.
will not cease to function after menopause. Only
Yes.
the reproductive function does not is not it's not in play, but your insulin, your thyroid, all of them will be very much at work. And the third would be your metabolic health. So that again is still something that is in works, and it's going to be at works for till you die. um,
Okay.
so
Okay.
PCOS does affect all three of them, so the other two will continue to be affected.
Even after you stop menstruating. Okay. So what we could talk forever. This is like an amazing and such an important topic, so fascinating in terms of all the systems and how things are intertwined. How what do you have? How can people get in touch with you? How can they access some more information from you? I know you have some resources for women.
Yes. So you can go to my website, which is called www.aditiguha.com,
Okay.
and /freebie is where a lot of my free resources live. And I'm going to and share the links with you. And also, you can find me on Instagram. I go by the handle name PCOS dot wait, I also kept forgetting mine. Sorry, PCOS dot nutritionist dot weight loss.
Okay, your freebies, it's aditiguha.com. Freebie or freebies?
Freebie. So
Okay.
/freebie, no S.
Okay. Uh and then your Instagram, did I put it right there? Okay. Um and then your Instagram is
It's wait. Let me also once again check. It's a PCOS dot nutritionist dot weight loss.
okay,
Maybe
and
I can
also
share it with you.
okay. Yeah, that would be good. And then I will, it'll be in the show notes as well. And so people, you should really download this. I'm imagining there's a lot of educate. I'm going to download it myself. So I'm imagining there's just a lot of education. And then if people decide like these are things that you need help with, how will there be a way to get in touch with you on your website?
Yeah, so I do have a work with me section.
Mhm.
I think currently it takes you to my
Count like
wait
your
list.
schedule.
Sorry, my
Okay.
one-on-one wait list.
Hmm.
So that's for people who want to work with me in a customized, personalized setting. I also have a 7-day meal plan for women with PCOS, which is a great starting point for people who have absolutely no clue, like where to eat, what kind of food to eat. So I can share that link also with you here,
Okay.
if they want to get onto that. But yeah, so if you go to my website, you will see the work with me. Or most, and if you are like, no, I don't know what I want to do, just DM me on Instagram. I will help
Okay. That yeah, just instead of yeah, exactly. Get the help. You're very accessible. This has been really great, and I hope that like I'm going to put one more thing. Oops. I am going to put one more the other link here, but please get in touch with Aditi. And um, my takeaway is that this is so important. Um, you deserve to be at your optimal health, not just have these symptoms and just say, oh, I think we tend to downplay things like if it's not broken or this huge, thing, then we kind of live with symptoms. And what I'm hearing is you don't have to do it. And there's some things that um you're not broken, you didn't do anything wrong, it's not your fault, but there's certainly things that you can do to help get to a more balanced place.
Absolutely. That's
Yes,
beautifully
yes,
said.
yes. Thank you so much, Aditi. Yes, we will be in touch. And this has been great. All right, everybody, take care. Don't
Thank you
forget
so much
to
for this
subscribe.
opportunity. Bye bye.
Yes, follow her, follow Aditi, and don't forget to subscribe so that you can get all of the latest information all around well being, wholeness, wellness. We deserve as women to flourish and to thrive in all areas, physically, and our reproduction and our relationships, everything. And so I think this has been great.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.